What's up guys, Fire here, and today we're going to be going over when to pick Sivir. So we're going to be going over things like why you would pick her anyway, what she's good at, what she's bad at, who's good with her, and what champions are good against her as well. Just a reminder, you have a week left to enter for the June giveaway for 2 lots of $10 RP, and you also have a week left to join in for next month's Patreon stuff. The kind of stuff that will be happening on Patreon next month will be another RP giveaway over there. There'll be lessons, playing rank 5s with me, just hanging out with me. There's loads of different things, and it's also a way of supporting me, but I'll leave links to both of them down below. So anyway, let's start with why would you pick her anyway. So her biggest strengths are that her ultimate is overpowered. Like, it's a really game-changing ultimate that you can either escape with or you can catch people with. She has good damage early in the lane phase, good damage mid, and also good damage late game as well. The spell shield is something that is completely unique to her and is a really important part of her kit for keeping her safe because she does have pretty short range. She has good poke and wave clear, huge AoE damage in fights, and she is a lane bully with huge kill potential if you play her right. Her weaknesses are really obvious though. Her biggest one is that she has a very short range, so that means that you have to be kind of close to people to do damage and put yourself at risk. The other thing is that in lane she is pretty mana hungry, and if you don't use the spell shield mana back, then you will go out of mana really fast. The final thing is that she's not really a beast late game, like she's not a hyper carry, and she can struggle in team fights because of her short range. She is still pretty good and she does a lot of damage, it's just kind of hard to output that damage because you're not the best tank killer and you have to get close to people to do damage. So overall then, why would you pick her and why would you not pick her? So she can affect the overall game probably more than any other AD carry with that ultimate. You can catch people mid game and snowball an entire game out of control. It's also really hard to lose your lane because if you do start to get behind, then you have your W and your Q and you can just instantly clear the wave and there's nothing the enemy bot lane can do to stop you. The other side of lane is that if you do get ahead, then you can get a lot of kills with your ultimate by chasing people down, and you can snowball really hard. The last thing, which is kind of something people don't often think about, is she does a ton of AoE damage in fights with her W and her Q. So not only are you shredding the tank in front of you, but you're hitting everyone behind them as well. So why not then? Well, the biggest thing, as I said, is her short range. You are going to struggle with that a little bit, and it takes a little bit of getting used to and good reactions on your spell shield. The biggest why not is actually like a playstyle issue. It's not really Sivir, it's just that you have to be proactive in what you're doing in the game. You can't just sit back and let the game unfold because you're not this hyper carry, so you need to be proactive mid game, you need to group, you need to use your ultimate, and you need to catch people. Okay, so that kind of covers why you would ever pick Sivir over every other AD carry, but now we're going to go over what she's good with and also what she's bad against. Now Sivir is like an immobile carry. She's just like Jinx, she has no innate dash or anything like that, but she doesn't need as big of a front line as Jinx does. Now Sivir is not a hyper carry and she doesn't have as much damage as the other ADs, so you want to make sure that you have a high damage mid laner or a high damage top laner. So when we're looking at role specific stuff, the front line, so this is kind of looking at the top and the jungle picks. Things like Maokai and Malphite in the top lane are good, and Sejuani in the jungle, because you can run at them with your ultimate, lock them down with their crowd control, let everyone catch up, and then kill them. The other side of this are kind of the carry laners like Irelia, Riven, and Wukong. Now these champions want to get to the back line, and your ultimate will make them so fast that they can run past the enemy front line easily, so it actually enables them to do their job even better. When we're looking at the mid lane, it's kind of the same idea as Jinx. You either want someone keeping you alive or a threat that they have to focus. Before, we'd lean more to the champions that could protect you so you could kill everyone, but this time we're more interested in the diving, heavy burst champions or assassins. Now as we said earlier, the mid game plan is to the ultimate and catch people, like that is you in a nutshell. Now that doesn't really fit with poke champions or sustained damage champs. We want to catch them with the ult, blow them up straight away and win the fight. So champions like Annie, LeBlanc, Diana, Katarina, anything with burst damage is really good with you. So when we're thinking of champions that you're bad against, it's like Sivir has a lot of AoE damage as we said earlier, but she doesn't really have a great way of dealing with huge front lines. So if a team is so tanky that you can catch them with your ultimate but you can't kill anyone before the rest of their team arrives, then you're in really deep poop right there. Like, you've blown all of your cooldowns and they're still alive. So in the top lane, it's things like Maokai who can absorb all that damage, or it's things like Irelia, Jax, Jarvan who can jump onto you and kill you without you escaping. The junglers that are just too tanky to really get through are Gragas and Sejuani, for example, and also things like Rek'Sai who can just stick onto you and make your life really difficult. Finally, for the mid lane, like Sivir is a hard engaged champion, right? And the mid laners that are good against that are poke champions that can poke you before you get the chance to engage. So like Xerath, Kog'Maw, even Orianna to some extent as well are really good against Sivir. So that's the rest of the team, and let's just turn our attention to the bot lane specifically. Now Sivir has a pretty strong lane phase, and if you get ahead then it's really easy to kill people, and that's what you want to focus on achieving. So you just stop pushing, you let the wave push to the middle or to you, and as soon as they come to CS you ult, chase and kill. It's really that simple, and it's so effective for getting kills in lane. For kill lanes I love playing with Nautilus because he can run at them with your ultimate, he's tanky enough to absorb the damage, and he can lock them down with his hook, his ultimate and his passive and let you just kill them. So when we're looking at defensive lanes, it's a little bit different from usual, and we're going to go with Janna, but not for the usual reasons. So when I said it's really hard to lose lane as Sivir, I said it was because of her wave clear, right? You just W and Q and their wave is instantly gone and the enemy can't do anything to stop you farming. Now the reason Janna is so good here is because she puts her shield onto you, and because your abilities have good AD scalings, your W and Q will do even more damage and completely one-shot the wave. So that gives you an idea of what you want to be picking when you're with Sivir, right? For kill lanes you want something that can run at them, and for defensive lanes you want something that can sit back and help her farm. So when we're looking at champions that are good versus Sivir, so Sivir is bad against, we're going to be looking at Soraka and Braum for kind of the same reason, but they do it slightly differently. Sivir's whole kit in lane phase is about poke, and Soraka can heal through that poke, and Braum can simply just block it with his shield. So these two cancel out her damage really well, and it means that it completely negates Sivir's entire lane phase and all of her kill potential. The final thing is what ADs are good against Sivir. This is the juicy bit, right? The important part. No one cares about supports really. Anyway, so the ADs I think are good against Sivir are Draven, Jinx and Vayne. Now Draven and Jinx are kind of the same thing, that they rely heavily on their auto attacks to do damage, and part of Sivir's kit is her spell shield, and the way she wins trades is by blocking your main damage ability, and simply Draven and Jinx don't have an ability that does damage, their autos do. So Draven and Jinx work around the same mechanic, right? They can't be abused by the spell shield, but Vayne is actually slightly different, and Vayne just wins a flat out fight. Now Sivir needs some time, she wants to poke people down, and she's not really good in an all-in fight if she doesn't poke first in lane. Her stealth really screws Sivir over because she can tumble dodge her Q, and the other thing is because Sivir has such short range, you have to get really close to Vayne to do any damage, at which point Vayne can just ult and then you're basically screwed. Okay, so that should give you a really good idea now of why you would pick her, why you wouldn't pick her, what you'd pick her with, and what you would pick against Sivir. I hope you guys found that interesting, and let me know what champion you want to see next. I'm thinking maybe of a Kalista or Vayne when to pick video, but let me know what you'd actually prefer to see. As always, that is all for this video, but I'll catch you next time.